In this video, we're going to be going over a CS50 practice problem called half. And make sure you watch all the way to the end because this is going to be a step-by-step guide for beginners. Now let's jump straight into it. Okay, so the goal of the program is to calculate your half of the bill, including tax and tip. And for that, we're going to need three inputs, which is the bill amount, the sales tax percentage, and the tip percentage, right? Let's just go through a quick example now so you get what I mean. So let's say the bill amount is $100 and the tax is 10% and we want to tip 20%. And it's important to note here that the tip is going to be as a percentage of the bill after tax, not just the initial bill amount. And you'll get what I mean in a second. So first things first, we want to calculate the tax amount, which will just be the bill amount multiplied by the tax percentage, right? Just logically. So the tax amount will be $100, which is the bill amount, multiplied by the tax percentage, which is 10% or 0.1. And so that gives us the tax amount of $10. And now we need to know what the total of the bill plus tax is, right? It's very step by step. So the total is the bill amount, which is $100, plus the tax amount, which is $10, right? So the first total, which is bill after tax, right, that's the amount, is $110. And now our tip is 20%. So it's going to be 20% of the bill plus tax, right, which is $110. So tip amount is $110 times 0.2, which is 20%, which is equal to $22. And now to know the bill after tax and tip, which is the total bill, is going to be our total one, which is the bill plus tax, plus the tip amount, which is what we just calculated. So it's going to be bill plus tax, which is total one, plus the tip amount, which comes out to be $132. But we're not done there because remember, we need to calculate half of the bill. So this total, we just divide it by 2 and we get an amount, which is going to be your half of the bill or the user's half of the bill. So basically, when the user inputs a bill amount of 100, a tax percentage of 10, and a tip percentage of 20, our program will output $66. Okay, now that we get the logic, let's jump straight into the code so we can kind of see how it works in programming. First, let's go through the code line by line and try to understand it. First, it includes the standard libraries. There's a function called half, which outputs a float and takes in 3 inputs, which is bill, tax, and tip. Okay, that makes sense. That's what we discussed earlier. Let's go to the main function. Float bill amount gets get float bill before tax and tip. Okay, so here get float, right? They're trying to get a float from the user. So they're prompting the user for the bill amount. And then after that, they're prompting the user for the sales tax percentage. And finally, we're prompting the user for the tip percentage, right? Just as we discussed earlier, it's just being put into code. And finally, we want to print you will owe this amount each. And it's going to be a float, right? %f to 2 decimal points. Okay, that's just what this means. And it's going to take the value from a function called half, which takes in the bill amount, tax percentage, and tip percentage. And our job here is to complete the function called half, right? So we need to do all the calculations, then we need to finally output half so that the program can use it. So we've already established that the first step is to calculate the tax amount, which is just going to be your bill amount multiplied by your tax percentage. So let's go ahead and put that into code. Let's make a variable. Let's call it tax amount, right? Just keeping things simple. We can call it anything we want. So this tax amount is going to be your bill multiplied by your tax percentage. That's going to be tax over 100. Don't forget to divide by 100 because remember the user is going to input, they're going to write 10 or 20 or 30, right? So if they write 10, we need to convert it to 0.1 as in our example. So we need to divide by 100 to make it from percentage to decimal. So now we have the tax amount. Our next step is to calculate the bill after tax, which logically is just going to be bill plus the tax amount. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's call it total 1. It's just a bill after tax. It's going to be bill plus tax amount. Okay, so far so good. What's the next step? Next step is to calculate the tip, okay? And we calculate tip as a percentage of the bill after tax, or total 1. So let's call it tip amount, just keeping it simple again, is going to be total 1 multiplied by tip divided by 100, right? Which is just converting the tip into decimal from percentage. Now we have the tip amount, which is a percentage of the total bill including tax. What's the next step? Well, the next step is simply to total everything, right? Which is the bill plus tax plus the tip. So bill plus tax we already know is in total 1. So let's just make another total. Let's call it total 2, right? Just an arbitrary name, which is going to be total 1, which is bill plus tax, plus the tip amount, right? It's going to be our bill after tax and tip. And remember, we're not done here because as the program is called, we need to calculate half of the bill, right? So all we need to do is take the bill after tax and tip and then divide it by 2. That's simple enough. So let's call it half, right? That's the variable we want. Float half is going to be total 2, which is bill after tax and tip, divided by 2. Okay, and that seems simple enough. And finally, if they return 0.0, we don't want to return 0. We instead want to return half. Okay, that's the variable we want to return. Now let's try to make this program. Let's try to compile it, see if we made any mistakes. Okay, luckily we didn't make any mistakes. Let's try to run it. Bill before tax and tip. Let's do it as our example earlier. 100, 10, and 20. And over here it says you will owe $55 each. Whereas in our example, we calculated it was $66 each. So what could the mistake be here? Well, if you're a complete beginner, this might not jump out at you right away, but I made this mistake on purpose so you can learn this valuable lesson. So over here, you can see that tip as an integer, right? So when we're calculating the tip amount over here, it's going to be total 1 multiplied by tip divided by 100. But if it's an int, let's say they input 20%, 20 over 100, as we know, is 0.2. But since it's an int, it's just going to round off to the nearest whole number. So it's actually just going to be 0. That's why the tip did not get calculated. And if you see, over here, 100 plus 10 divided by 2 is $55, right? So it did not take into account the tip at all. Why? Because tip is actually an int, whereas tip should be a float, right? So that we can get those precise values. We need it to be correct till the decimals. We can't just have it rounding off to an int. So over here, this tip amount will result in 0, regardless of the tip we put in. So this is a mistake over here that has one simple fix, which we just need to tell the computer, hey, take this tip as a decimal, please. And we could simply do that by saying 100.0, right? That's the simplest way to do it. Let's see if that solves it. Make half, ./half, and again, same numbers, 100, 10, and 20. And now we owe $66 each. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel with notifications on for weekly CS50 content. And real quick, before you go, I have some exciting news to share. So since I started making these CS50 videos online, I've been getting tons of requests for private tutoring, but frankly just haven't found the time. And finally, I'm excited to announce that I'm now offering private tutoring. So if you like my teaching style and just need that extra push, feel free to email me here or click the first link in the description below. Now, filling in the form or sending me an email does not guarantee you a spot for private one-on-one tutoring. Instead, it's just so we can discuss your options and see whether you even really need it. And you might be thinking, do I really need tutoring to complete the course? And the answer is absolutely not. The course material and my YouTube videos here are 100% enough. But if you want to speed up the process and understand those challenging concepts quickly, well then this will be perfect for you. So if you're interested, just shoot me an email or click the link in the description below and we'll go from there. That's all for today, and bye, David!